What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Arsenal versus Tottenham. It's the North London derby, and we're previewing the game. So welcome, everybody. Hope you guys are doing okay. Let me just make sure that Andy's all sorted. Andy, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Bloody cold in London at the moment for anybody who hasn't really been out there. It's absolutely freezing.
And in Derbyshire as well, mate.
Mate, I tell you, we're waking up. There's frost on the cars, frost all on the garden everywhere. I think a few of the guys were sending pictures with snow on their cars this morning. So yeah, it's that's how it is. It was like that actually on Thursday, Rapid Vienna at the Emirates when the fans turned up there, and they really enjoyed themselves. It'd be good to see what kind of atmosphere
they make more noise than you usually get at the Highbury Library.
Yeah, they said that. Well, I mean, look at the North End. The North End makes more noise than the whole stadium put together. How much fans are you getting? Are you guys getting 2,000 fans there?
We got 2,000 tomorrow, yeah.
Excellent. And do you know anyone who's going? Do you know anyone's got a ticket?
I know one person that's going, yeah. There was a ballot for the season, usual season ticket holder ballot.
Excellent, excellent. So how have you been anyway? You looking forward to the game?
Weirdly, it's actually weird. Actually, when you like that sort of 25-year period when you were better than us, I always look forward to it because it was our one chance to put one over on you. Yeah. Now we've been better than you for the last 5 years. It's kind of now we're a little bit more nervous because it's your chance to put one over on us.
Yeah. I think your mic is spiking out a little there. I can hear you, but yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah. That should be all right. I'm just hearing a little bit of feedback. So, guys, so let's have a look at the game in general. So, as you know, Spurs sit at the top of the Premier League, the top of the league. Spurs, what do they call? What do you lot call him? You call him Trophy Mourinho. My God. So they're sitting at the top of the league and they're ready to challenge for the title. Arsenal, of course, are in 14th place, the worst start since 1981. That's like 39 years. And we find ourselves 11 points behind you guys if we suffer a defeat, which would be horrible for our fan base. So, in your opinion, how are the managers going to approach the game tactically? Where do you think that they're going to go? Obviously, Spurs are at home, so you're going to want to come out attacking, all guns blazing. Where do you see you guys coming from the game at a tactical standpoint?
Well, that's the difference between Pochettino and Mourinho, in that Pochettino, you could guarantee we'd be coming at you for all guns blazing. With Mourinho, you're never quite sure what he's going to do. Like for City, we just sat on the edge of our box for 90 minutes and got them through 2 counter-attacks.
Yeah.
And with Chelsea, we sat on the edge of our box for 90 minutes last week and got a 0-0 draw. So, I mean, I would hope that Mourinho is going to go the opposite way and have a go at you tomorrow, because I think you are vulnerable at the moment. But a lot of it will depend on personnel. I mean, there's rumours that Lloris isn't fit and that possibly Joe Hart will play in goal. Well, that could be a big...
Oh, God, that would be disastrous.
It would be a disaster for us. It'd be great for you. And also we're not sure about whether Alderweireld's back because he's been out for 2 weeks since he got injured. But there's rumours that, well, he was training this week, but whether he's going to be fit enough to come back in for the game against you, I don't know. And there's rumours that, Harry Kane was left out on Thursday because he was presumably carrying a knock, and so was Vinicius. So a lot of it could depend on whether a lot of this is Mourinho mind games, and and Reguilon as well is supposed to be carrying a knock. So if all of those play, or the majority of them play, then I would feel fairly confident. If we're missing Lloris, Alderweireld and Kane, then it's a whole different ball game. So we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think for me, tactically, I kind of named my team sheet, and I hope Arsenal go with 3 at the back, because I just can't see Kieran Tierney holding Song on at left back. I really can't. So for me, I would go 3 at the back, and I would go with Gabriel at that position. So I hope that we start the game at 3-4-3. Another reason
I suggest that Sonny's more likely to be on the left. So it'd be more of a problem for Bellerin, I think.
Yeah, and that would be fine. I wouldn't mind that because Bellerin's got the pace to keep ahead of him, and also Maitland-Niles can line up on the left or the right. So I think for me, the benefit of the three at the back is that the four in the midfield wing backs would be able to get back and do a job, and that's the first thing. The second thing for me is I've looked at the four at the back this season, and tactically we just haven't got the job done. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion, that we were a better team with three at the back than we are with four at the back. And I know four at the back is the way that they want to go, and we're having teething problems, and every team has that. Every team also has a downturn. You know, Man United, remember when they wanted to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because if his form dipped, you yourself remember Spurs form dipped under Mourinho, and even you guys were questioning whether bringing him in was the right thing. Well, Arsenal are at that point right now where we're having the dip in form and we're asking those same questions. So the good thing for me as an Arsenal fan is I want to let other Arsenal fans know that this is our dip and that we shouldn't overreact. I know there's some Arsenal fans calling for Arteta's head at the moment, which is ridiculous. But at the same time, we're just having a dip in form and we'll come out of it. I think the difference is when you have 5 losses in 10 Premier League games, you're just now looking for that reaction. The good thing under Wenger is when we had a heavy defeat, we bounced straight back. At the moment, we're not bouncing back. We're not seeing a reaction. And that I think that's what's scaring the fans a little. Bertram, it's nice to see you, bro. We were just talking about, as you can see below at the bottom, it says, how will the managers approach the game tactically? What's your thoughts, not just with Arsenal, but with Spurs as well? So we kind of use you as a little mediator.
So I start with Spurs first. I think Mourinho is licking his chops because he's thinking, I know we are concerned about Joe Hart being in goal, at least Andy may be, but you have to take shots to score. We are them coming close to taking shots. And Spurs is playing with 6 defenders, basically. And then he attacked with the other 4. He has Højbjerg and Sissoko playing right in front of the back too, and they're very, very good defensively. They don't turn the ball over a lot, and Sissoko is an animal when it comes to tracking down runners and starting to play from deep. So it'll be very difficult for us to penetrate them defensively, given how they're playing nowadays. And we know Mourinho does set his side up first not to get beat, and then the score. Now, I agree with you, Apollo, around the fact that we do have to play with 3 at the back. Even though we have not given up a lot of goals this year, it's because we employed that initially that we weren't giving up goals, even against a better team. But it does sometimes take away from your attack if you play 3 at the back, right? Because then you're defending with probably 7, frankly, versus defending with 6. So that makes it very challenging for us. I think if we have 3 at the back with Partey and then Nene, if Partey is fit enough to play in front, that would be a similar construct as Spurs with 1 more defender. So that should work pretty well. The problem for us is going forward, as I've said numerous times, we are basically impotent. Aubameyang, William, Lacazette, not providing the skill, not penetrating defenses, not creating for themselves, and everyone complains around, well, we don't have creativity. And think about Spurs front 3 between Kane, Bergwijn, Son, and Dembele. They are creative players, so where's our creativity in our front 3? That's part of the problem. And the one creative player who was actually creating in today's environment, Saka, don't know where the goal is. As I say, he's an improved he will be. He don't score goals, and I know everyone loves Saka and he's young, and we all agree with that. But I've always said this, if you're on the field, there's a reason why you're on the field. You have to produce. And if you play him on the wing, he doesn't score. He's actually much more effective in the back 3 because he's not then required to score, given how deep he plays, but he can be creative going forward. And that's why we are left side dominant in most games. That's people talking about not playing on the right side. Bellerin doesn't really see the ball. The ball goes to Tierney, Saka, Aubameyang when he used to play out wide. So the ball doesn't go to the right. So it'll be an interesting game tomorrow to see what Teta does. I hope he goes 3 at the back, just to contain the potency of the Spurs front line. Because if he doesn't, it may not be pretty.
If we do you not think you'd be wasting a defender if you went 3 at the back? Because Kane often drops deep. So what you might then have is 3 central defend. I mean, obviously, I don't care. But you might then have 3 central defenders and 2 of them not doing very much because They won't know whether to go with Kane, whether to stay back, whether to
I think
shift
the person that goes with Kane is El Nene. He's the person. He's the fourth. He's the hybrid back four. He's the guy who will fill in the back four and mark those runs in.
But I'm saying if you play a back three, so with two centre halves, three centre halves basically, or a sweeper and two centre halves.
Yeah.
Do you not think that one of them will end up getting wasted? From your perspective, obviously from my perspective, I'm happy for you to waste as many players as you like. But
well, it depends on how your wing backs play, right? Depends on how your wing backs play. How deep do your wing backs play, or how forward do they play? So think about it this way: who marks Son? Is that if you're playing on the left, is that Bellerin? Or is that who's playing on the right? Is that Holding or is that David Luiz, right? David Luiz will play in the middle if he plays. He always play in the middle. He can't play out wide. So the question is who marks those? It's an interesting situation for us because we need more scoring. But I'm telling you, when we put more people forward, we become more volume at the back. I mean, think about the Leeds game. We gave about 20 shots to Leeds. I mean, in that game, even though when everyone talks about our defense and how great we are, Leeds should have scored at least 5 goals in that game.
Of course. Yeah, and Spurs are very clinical. But for me, I see a situation where Spurs have 6 defenders. They're a very defensive team. They score a lot on the counter-attack. We saw what they did when they popped up with those 2 goals against Man City, and they just came out of nowhere. So that's the thing.
I wouldn't say we're a very defensive team. I'd say we've been defensive against teams that are very potent going forward. So we chose to play defensively against City and Chelsea, but we didn't play defensively when we went to Old Trafford and smashed United 6-1. We didn't play defensively at Southampton when we won 5-2. So we didn't play defensively when we beat West Ham. Well, we were 3-0 up against West Ham and then gave it away. So I think Mourinho picks and chooses his matches to go for it. Now, what I'm hoping...
Do you think he'll go for it in this game? Do you think he'll do a Man United? You're at home. You've got your fans there. It's a North London derby.
I hope that he does. The problem with Mourinho is, all double guessing him, it's quite difficult. I mean, he is an expert with the old mind games, just like Ferguson and Wenger were. So it's just, I would love to see him go for it tomorrow because I think Arsenal are vulnerable at the moment. But I think it will depend on the personnel. If we have our first choice 11 out there, Lloris, Alderweireld, Kane, if they're all playing, then yes, I can see us. And certainly Reguilon. Because there's a big difference for us if Reguilon's available than if Davis is available. Because if Reguilon's not available, Davis can't do the same job down the left-hand side that Reguilon does. So it's a different, Mourinho, it might force Mourinho's hand a little bit. But if Reguilon's available, then I would love to see us go for it tomorrow and put Arsenal under pressure and see how they cope.
Actually, I think you have a set team. Look, I think initially he was trying to figure out who are his best players. He
knows he's 11. He knows he's 11.
Exactly. That's why your style probably will be the same, no matter whether one can say you play deeper and play counter against the City and the Liverpool, or you play going forward. But if he play, it's the only challenge I see for him is on the right back situation, right? Do you play Aurier or do you play what's his name?
At the moment, I wouldn't have said this a year ago, but at the moment, Aurier all day because Doherty hasn't been at it since he's arrived from Wolves. Now, I was really happy when we bought Doherty because I thought he was a great addition to the squad, but he hasn't yet hit the ground running. So at the moment, and Aurier has been tremendous against City and Chelsea. So at the moment, I think no question it will be Aurier tomorrow.
And two in front of your two, Sissoko and Højbjerg are not changing. Those two are sitting there. No matter who you play, I don't think they won't change because you still have to defend no matter who you play. Those two are going to sit in front of the back 3 or the back 4, probably the back 3. So your team is sort of set in my mind. And Dumbelly will play because he's been for 65 minutes, 70 minutes, because all he can play for is like I said. But he's very creative on the ball. I don't know if people realize that. We don't have that in our midfield. Somebody can wiggle out of trouble.
That's why it's important. That's why it's important if Thomas Partey plays.
Is he fit?
No, he's not. He's not. Fit
or not, he's playing.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays, that they're taking a big chance. I've been told that previously before it was a 40% chance that the injury would flare up, and they're saying now it's a 20% chance the injury will flare up. So, I've been told the advice has been not to play until 2021. But the player's been wanting to play for 2 weeks. He's like, I'm fine. The scans show something else. So it's really up to Arteta whether he wants to say, okay, look, we've held him back for 2 weeks. We've done as much as we can do. It's been healing, and the scan was improved. It's really up to them whether they take a chance on it. It's a real toss-up. 20% isn't a lot.
The question for you is it worth risking Partey for the game against Spurs and then potentially losing him for another 4 or 5 games? There's a lot of games over the Christmas period.
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to lose him.
I personally wouldn't play him.
I don't see how you don't play him.
Yeah,
You've lost 5 games already. You're way behind. It's not London Derby. It could be a momentum changer if you do well in that game. If you don't play him, your midfield is impotent. Like Xhaka and Ceballos are just out. Look, and then he will play tomorrow. That's why he probably played him, just to give him some game in the Europa League game on Thursday. But you need someone dynamic in the midfield to go forward. And the play has been, as Apollo says, from what I'm reading, has been pushing the play for a while now. That's why they had him train yesterday.
Because that's what I'm saying. He feels fine, but the scan shows something different. He's saying he's fine. They've got him out running shuttle training. He's doing everything. He's been running for 5 days now, and he's saying I'm good. But the scan is showing something else. So they're right to be cautious. But look, if they play him, they're taking a punt. They really
he's gonna be on the bench, but they probably won't play. You know how that goes. He's gonna be on the bench, and then we're gonna have Xhaka in the midfield, and they go overrun us. And
Xhaka! If Xhaka plays, we lose. It's as simple as that. Number 2, Andy. What power shift has there been between the two clubs? So for me, the Spurs have been on amazing form of late. They're still without a trophy, while Arsenal have won 4 FA Cups and 4 Charity Shields since Spurs won their last League Cup. I think for me, the question has largely been that this power struggle or power shift is kind of lost significance for me, because I don't think both teams are really after the prize, right? The Premier League title. And while Arsenal's won trophies and been relatively up and down, and Spurs have been, forget the fact that they've changed managers, but they've been really competitive over the years. When I had a look at it, both teams are still struggling to win the big one. Both teams have finished second once. Yeah, Spurs did it in 2016, 2017. Arsenal did it the year before that. Both teams have lost in the Champions League finals. Spurs never turned up against Liverpool, while Arsenal went down to 10 men against Barcelona after leading for 74 minutes. The story of the two clubs...
This is a very one-sided analysis.
It is, but my point is, both of the clubs remain fairly inconsistent, regardless where we see it. That we can draw...
I don't think Spurs have been inconsistent. I just don't think they have been the best. Yeah, and Spurs, since Pochettino took over, or allow him his first season, getting used to the players and that sort of thing. From 2015 to 2020, Spurs have accumulated more wins than Arsenal, more points than Arsenal, more goals than Arsenal, and have conceded less goals than Arsenal. For me, there's no question, for the last 5 years, Spurs have been better than Arsenal. That is an unequivocal fact. However, during that time, Arsenal have won FA Cups. I understand that. And so therefore you could claim, if you're measuring success by trophies, then Arsenal have won more trophies than Spurs. I accept that. What I would argue is that in the modern day game, winning the FA Cup or even the League Cup, which basically means Spurs haven't done anything for 35 years since we won the UEFA Cup, right? The reality says now the League Cup and the FA Cup are of minimal value in modern day football. I still love the FA Cup because I grew up with it and I loved it, and Spurs in the 80s were in the FA Cup every year. And so it was a big thing. But I just think that where the modern day game is about finishing in the top 4. Wenger said it, and you guys didn't like him, and you got rid of Wenger because despite the fact that he had you in the Champions League 20 years in a row, his last 2 seasons he didn't make it, and then you eventually chose to get shot of him despite winning the FA Cup. So the point is that really now Spurs are the Champions League team. We had a bad start to last season that cost us Champions League. Since Mourinho arrived, we've been in the you'd put us in the Champions League places. We're currently top this season, 70%. If he wins tomorrow, be a 70% win rate so far this season, which is excellent. So we're talking about an important. We've now got. I mean, Mourinho would have laughed if you'd have said Mourinho come to Spurs 10 years ago. People would have laughed. There's no way Mourinho. Sorry,
even 5 years ago.
Even 5.
Yeah, so because where he was in his managerial career.
And that's where you've got to give credit to Pochettino and Levy too, but Pochettino for turning Spurs from pretty much also-rans into being one of the best teams in the country. Between 2015 to 2017, those 2 seasons, had you had a title for 2-season performance, Spurs would have won it. But you didn't, because we were individually outplayed by Leicester in the first season and then Chelsea in the second season. They both had great runs. Yeah, I mean, you talked about Arsenal being runners-up in 2015-16. There's only one reason you were runners-up, and that's because in the last 3 games, Spurs realised they couldn't win the title, and they basically gave up. And you ended up, from being 9 points behind, finished 1 point above us.
Yeah, but that's not the first time we've done that to you. We've come back from behind with you guys for quite a few years before that.
We were the only team that challenged Leicester that season, but we didn't quite get there. But then we capitulated in the last few games, resulting in a 5-1 defeat at Newcastle in the last day of the season. And you ended up pipping us by a point to run us up. But you weren't really the second best team that season. 2 seasons, we were the second best team, really. But okay, fair enough. We did finish 3rd. You pipped us. Last 5 seasons, we have finished above you. 4 or 5 seasons, we have finished above you.
I mean, last season, actually the season before that, when Emery messed up, we were in the top 4 position. We had it nailed. In fact, we sat in 3rd place for quite a long time, and everybody said, "Oh, Arsenal, it's a lock." And we did exactly the same thing. Remember that game against Crystal Palace, Bertram, the home game? When we played a bunch of reserves because we had Valencia.
You mean the one Zaha destroyed?
Because we had Valencia. Well, regardless of what Zaha did.
It's the game Zaha destroyed us, so we lost.
Zaha did.
He picked the wrong team.
We picked the wrong team.
He picked the wrong team.
And we capitulated. We then went away to Leicester and Wolves and then lost 3-0. So we capitulated. We did exactly what you just said with Spurs, but we had a top 4 locked. And if that happened, I think that Emery would still be the manager of Arsenal today.
There's one difference between the 2 teams. They have Daniel Levy and we don't. So you look at the 2 teams and you look at the personnel and you look at their value, and it's night and day. I look at the list of the 10 highest purchases that we've made in terms of players. And we can't sell any of them for anything that's significant. 0. Whether it's Mustafi, Xhaka, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Ozil, you keep naming them and you're shocked at the return value on your investment. In fact, they're a liability, not investments. You look at Spurs. Look at Spurs' top 6 players that play up front between Son and Kane and Bergwijn and Sissoko and Højbjerg. They all probably value more than what they paid for them. Kane came to the system. That's the difference between the teams. We're going this way and they're going this way.
So the question is, what power shift has there been between the clubs? In my opinion, I don't think Sunday's result would give us a definitive answer because, in my opinion, I think both teams have struggled. I pointed out the reasons.
No, we're going opposite directions, Apollo, and Arsenal fans are fooling themselves if they think otherwise.
Yeah,
we're going in opposite directions.
Yeah, I don't think that's
okay. So 20 years in a row, we made top 4. When last have we made top 4?
Yeah,
and last year was the last time in the last 5 years Spurs missed top 4, isn't it?
Yeah, but when the discussion that me and Andy just had is Spurs have been more competitive in the league. Arsenal have been winning trophies. So, but both teams have had a 2nd place finish.
How do you define a trophy? Guys, about significigance and materiality. So,
Andy said that the FA Cup's not worth.
Which trophy give you more money? Which give you more money?
when I was growing up, the FA Cup was definitely, without question, a trophy that everyone wanted to win. But since the advent of the Premier League and or in particular the advent of the Champions League, the FA Cup, certainly the League Cup, and now really the FA Cup, have lost importance in terms of value to.
Yeah, the reason why I can't agree with that, because look where Arsenal was last season. We needed to win that FA Cup more than anybody else because that was our ticket into Europe. So I can't sit here and say it was worth nothing. It was worth everything to us because had we not won it, guess what? We wouldn't be in Europe.
Worth everything to a lesser
team. So I can't
Paulo.
say it doesn't have value. It has value. It's brought us into Europe. And if we win, I'm not saying we will, but if we win the Europa Cup and then qualify for the Champions League that way, that would be because of the FA Cup victory this season.
You go into the back door, Apollo. Go to the front door. What are we thinking about the back door?
Mourinho done it with Man United. He won the UEFA Cup.
Where's Marina now? Where's Marina now?
It doesn't matter. We're talking about
like Arsenal. Marina's like Arsenal.
I think we're forgetting the question.
Marino was going the opposite direction career. Spurs is saving Marino's career. That's what Spurs is doing.
Okay, the question is the importance of it. Is the importance of winning the FA Cup of any significance? The answer is yes, because it gets you into Europe. If you get into Europe and win the Europa Cup like Mourinho did at Man United, that got him into the Champions League. So whether it was through the back door or not, that's the rules. That's how the game's played. And
so Apollo, if you ask City,
significant importance.
If you ask City, if you ask Chelsea, if you ask those teams today and Liverpool, what would they prefer? Winning the FA Cup or finishing top four? What would they say?
You can't ask those teams because those teams are qualified for the Champions League.
Exactly, they're big teams.
But that's not the question. That's not the question.
No, we're thinking like Everton. We're thinking like Wolves about Europa League.
Yeah, that's not the question. The question is the FA Cup of any significance? That's the question.
Apollo, you want to answer looking at the question, what power shift has there been between the two clubs, right? If you want your answer, go back 5 years. Would you have been having this conversation about winning FA Cups and being in the Europa League 5 years ago when you were in the Champions League every year for 20 years? You wouldn't have been having that conversation.
Yeah, of course not.
Spurs were happy to be in the Europa League every year.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they made it into the Champions League under Pochettino. And then they did it consistently under Pochettino. And now Spurs are disappointed to be in the Europa League. And there's your power shift. There's been a change between the two clubs because now Spurs demand Champions League football, and Arsenal, you're basically saying that Arsenal are happy to being in the Europa League because they've won the FA Cup. Pochettino didn't even bother trying for the FA Cup or the League Cup.
I wouldn't say the Europa League. For me, as an Arsenal fan, I've been to Wembley. I've seen 2 FA Cup wins, and I treasure that. I went with my son. It was a day that I would never forget. I treasured that more than finishing in the top 4. So for me, that's of significance. That means something to me.
And I'm sure this season, if Spurs won the FA Cup, the fans would say the same thing to you. I'm sure. But the truth is that really financially, we've got £1 billion stadium to pay for, and it's been empty for a year ever since just after it was built. We had fans for just under a year, and then it's been empty. The amount of revenue that the club has lost during this period of time, and the amount we announced as nearly 70 million pound loss last week, and he's predicting potentially another 100 million, 150 million loss for the next season. They're big numbers that Levy's got to fill. He needs to be in the Champions League.
So, Andy, guys, here's the discussion. So you're going on Wednesday, and Andy get to watch his team play Barcelona, Real Madrid, and I get to watch mine play Rapid Vienna. Why are we even arguing the point? Like,
no, we're not arguing. We're giving up. We're going.
No. But you're rationalizing, Apollo, like you always do about League Cup and FA Cup, and it's not even a comparison. Okay. I want every game I play. I want to say, you know what? Can I win this game? We're gonna play the top teams. I don't want to think about I'm playing the kids against Rapid Vienna because it doesn't matter. That's
you know what the irony is? It's funny how when Wenger was qualifying for the Champions League and saying to everybody that was like a trophy, the rest of the league were laughing, saying, "Oh, Wenger thinks top 4 is like a trophy." Now everyone else is in the top 4 positions. To them, it's like a trophy. Yeah, I just
because
find the
because the
irony.
league has changed,
I just
Apollo. As
find
I
the
said
irony
before, we're talking
absolutely.
about 9, 10 teams.
I don't know the fickleness of fans, eh?
I know.
No,
So
because
guys,
before Andy and Apollo, we only had 5, 6 very good teams, right? Now we have 9, 10 teams. Before that Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, City, not even Liverpool at one point, we're gonna be competing for 16 for 4 spots or 5 teams for 4 spots. It's no longer the case. You're challenging to beat West Brom. Spurs struggle to beat West Brom 1-0. That's the league today, and West Brom is in the bottom 3. It's a different league.
So, Andy, this one's more centered to you. For you, who was the better manager, or who would you have in this position right now, Pochettino or Mourinho?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I mean,
It
obviously,
is very tough.
with us being top of the league right now, and I'm acutely aware it's only 10 games in. So right now, the position now is fairly irrelevant because there's another 28 games to go. But you can't argue that the job that Mourinho has done, we now have a stronger squad, a much stronger squad than we have probably ever had. You know, we've now got 2 very good players for every position. You might still argue that you could still improve here and there, and certainly we could centrally defensively. But I mean, if you look at our attacking options, you know, we've got as good an options as we've ever had going forward.
But isn't this the house that Pochettino built?
Yes, well, that was what I'm coming on to. It's still largely the house that Pochettino and Levy. Again, you've got to give credit to Levy. People always slate him, but Levy needs to take a lot of credit for how he has slowly and steadily built the club. People wanted us to invest 100, 200 million. It was never going to happen. Gradually, slowly but slowly, he has done it. We're now in a position where the amount of assets we've got, hundreds of millions in the playing staff, we've got there now. You know, he has got a hugely valuable set of players. And we could raise probably 80, 100, in Kane's case, put any figure you want on it, of 80, 100 million for 2 or 3 players. 200 million probably in Kane's case.
Yeah,
so not that we'd want to get rid of them, but the point is that we have valuable assets in that team, and we've now got a strong squad to the extent that we could sell 2 or 3 players who are fringe players now, probably for 25, 30 million, 40 million pounds. So we could get in our potentially Skriniar, Milik from Napoli. We could buy these players now just by offloading a couple of fringe players, which means that we're in a strong position in terms of the playing staff. What we've built, we've got the best stadium in Europe. We've got the best training facilities in Europe.
Better than Old Trafford?
Yes.
Hey, how about those drinks where you put the cup down and it feels...
Yeah. But look, I mean, they're all little things, and they're little things that are, useful for fun for the fans and stuff like that. They don't mean anything in terms of the success of the club. But the fact is, the club has been growing in the right direction. In much the same way that my old man used to say to me 30 years ago, the difference between Arsenal and Spurs is that Arsenal is a very well-run club. Under David Dean and that sort of thing, Arsenal was a very, very very well-run club. And Spurs never was. We had the likes of Irving Scholar and Douglas Alexiou and all these people running our club. And it was all a bit of a mess. And we had managers that would spend fortunes like Venables and various other things. And we didn't really get much for it. And the club nearly ended up bankrupt. And Sugar saved the club, and then Levy took it on again. And so we've been building now on the same time that Dean quit Arsenal, then eventually Wenger's gone, and all that stability. And now we've kind of swapped roles, where Spurs have now got the strong, stable club, and Arsenal are the ones that are sort of seem to be thrashing around, trying to work out a structure and, where to go. I'm not saying this makes us much better than you or anything like that. Just like I don't believe you were much better than us in the past, but you were more successful than us for a very long time. Most of my lifetime, you've been more successful than we've been. That's a fact we have had to live with. It's nice for us now that we're not really looking at you particularly anymore. We still love the derby and all the rest of it, but we're now more looking towards Liverpool and City and Chelsea and trying to compete with them, because we're not really competing with you now. And so that is the about turn, because in the past we were trying to kid ourselves that we were competing with you, when actually you were competing with United and Chelsea. You weren't really competing with us. It was us trying to keep you down to our level. And now it almost feels like there's a bit of an about turn. The difference is you did win silverware and we still haven't. So, and I think you're going to cut. What I say about Pochettino is we had the best in my lifetime. And I watched us under Birkinshaw in the 80s. I grew up with Birkinshaw in the 80s with Ardiles and Hoddle. It was a wonderful, wonderful team to watch. A fantastic team. But Pochettino, that team under Pochettino, certainly the team between 15 and 17, for 2 years, we had the best team I have ever seen. Every team did not want to play Tottenham. Everyone feared it. Across Europe, nobody wanted to play against us because they knew they were going to be in for a really tough game.
Yeah, I remember that.
Much like no one wants to play Leeds now. And don't forget, Bielsa was Pochettino's mentor.
Of course, yeah.
You know, Pochettino was Bielsa's protege. And the way we played in those first couple of years under Pochettino was a breath of fresh air. We were entertaining to watch. We scored goals for fun. We were actually defensively very sound, mainly because teams were always on the back foot against us because we were pressing them so high. But what happened with Pochettino, and it's very sad, if you can date back to in almost exactly 2 years, we were, after 26 games of the 18-19 season, after 26 games, we were on 60 points. We were 2 points behind City and 5 behind Liverpool with 12 games to go. It was a three-way title race. But Kane got injured, Sonny got injured, and everything
I remember, yeah.
Everything collapsed, and we ended up just hanging on that season. You very nearly caught us for Champions League that season. We just hung on by a point, I think it was at the end of
a point. Yeah, it was just a point.
We just hung on, and that was the beginning of the downfall. It was masked by the run to the Champions League final, masked the fact that our league form had been poor for the last 3 months of the season. And
so do you think it was wrong to sack him then? That's really what it's all about, because
I didn't want him to go, but at the same time, I believed that we had to have a change, because there were a couple of crucial things that happened at the end of that season. Before the Champions League final, and I think this was a big mistake of his, Pochettino said that if we won the final, he might quit because he didn't think he could do any more for us. And we then lost the Champions League final, but then there was this kind of weird atmosphere around the place. Eriksen was wanting out. Alderweireld and Vertonghen's contracts were near an end. We had this whole thing where it just felt like there was an end of an era. And Pochettino was saying to Levy, you need to invest heavily for me to rebuild this squad again. And Levy's gone, we've just got to a Champions League final. Why do we need to rebuild completely? And Pochettino was saying is because we're coming to an end. People forget how important Dembele was to our team. When he went to China at the end of that previous season, you can tie in our decline very quickly to Dembele leaving as well. Yeah. There was a thing with Dembele going, Eriksen in the last year of his contract, Vertonghen and Alderweireld in their 30s coming to the end of their contracts. It seemed like the end of an era.
It sounds like Jerry Krause and the Chicago Bulls, doesn't it, Bertram?
Yeah, but Andy, I do think though it was unfair to Pochettino.
Yes, it was.
I think he had 2 or 3 transfer windows.
That's right.
No, at the time, you can't do that with Marino.
At the time, what we wanted was Levy to back Pochettino. But if you also remember, at that very same time, the stadium opening was delayed by nearly a year. It was supposed to open for the beginning of the beginning of that season, and actually we didn't end up hosting any games until April of that season. So what happened was Levy was hamstrung by all the increased debt. That stadium was supposed to cost 450-500 million. Ended up costing £900 million rather. double what it was supposed to cost. And Levy was trying at that point to keep all the balls in the air financially, and therefore it hamstrung Spurs in the transfer market. But that also stopped Pochettino commencing a rebuild that he knew was coming. He knew it needed to be done, but it was basically very unfair on Pochettino. I really, it's such a shame that we couldn't have found a way to get players in, or Levy could have been a bit more creative in the way that he's been for Mourinho. You know, Levy got creative in the last transfer window with staggered deals. Because of the pandemic, he managed to get some deals done. We only spent £60 million in the last transfer window and got 7 new players in. Now, yes, we're going to have to spend more on some of those players in the future to complete their deals, but Levy got creative, and you just wish that he could have found a way to get creative 18 months earlier, and then maybe we would still have Pochettino. And I think eventually he would have won the silverware, and he could have become a legend at Spurs in the same way.
Because he'd still be there. Yeah, he'd still be there.
I do think Levy was probably so preoccupied with the stadium that even though the team was doing well in the Champions League final, it wasn't the primary focus.
Yes.
I mean, you're great on if you double the price, and construction always is the case, right?
Yeah, they got good money for Bale. That's what started all off.
We're not talking about, but Bale was a while ago before this.
Yeah, it was a long while ago. Yeah, but then that's when the project started.
No, the Bale money got wasted. The Bale money bought a lot of players.
It wasn't. We did the players we initially bought with that money. You had Dembele. That wasn't a bad purchase.
Well, Dembele, but there are a bunch of others, right?
And Eriksen as well. You know, they were pretty good purchases, but there were others. I mean, Lamella's the only one that's still there from that time.
You had about 5 or 6 purchases with that money, didn't you?
Yeah, we had 6 or 7. Yeah, you're right. But you know, we had the likes of Chadley and Kirikesh, if you remember him, the remaining. You know, but a lot of them didn't really do much for Spurs. You know, Paulinho. You know, they weren't really. I mean, Paulinho was a great player, but he wasn't that great for Spurs.
Sorry, go on, Andy. Let me let you finish before I go to the guys.
So then coming on to Mourinho, I mean, the reason we love Pochettino so much is he played with a flamboyant style. He played in the style that Spurs fans want to see. It is hard for somebody that loves good football. I mean, I hate to say it, obviously, but I loved watching your team. You know, the Bergkamps, the Omris, the Vieiras. That was a fantastic team that you had. It was the only team I will ever say that I enjoyed watching of Arsenal's, basically. But it was an amazing team, and I love watching good football. And I don't enjoy watching the performances against City and Chelsea. But we got 4 points from those things. Probably if Pochettino had been charged, we might have got a point or no points out of those 2 games. We would have been far more entertaining, and we would have probably attacked both of them, and we would have probably lost. So it's a kind of, because Pochettino's record against the top 6 wasn't great. We had one season where it was pretty good. The season where we went unbeaten at home, the last season at White Hart Lane, we were excellent that season. But on the whole, Pochettino's record against the top 6 wasn't great. Mourinho's record against the big 6 in his previous Chelsea times and Spurs days is excellent.
And that's the one defining factor with Emery and Arteta. Emery's record against the top teams is 17% win, whereas Arteta is 44%. And that's one of the big swings that we're seeing.
Although your better performances this season have been against the better sides.
Yeah. So let's see what the guys are saying here. Andrew is saying, let's accept Spurs have the better squad. And yeah, look, guys, let's not pretend that we are who we are because Arsenal are in a transition. Not only is it there's been a squad, but our whole front office has completely changed. And gone is Gadidas, gone is Raul Sanelli. It's a transition. And when you have a transition, you're going to get bumps and cracks and deadwood. We've got rid of 21 players in the last 2 seasons. That is a change of everything. That's a complete about change. So where we are with that, with the team is we've just got no chemistry, no cohesion, and things like that just take time. Yes, some managers hit the ground running quicker than others. Unfortunately, you know, we're going to have to plug our feet in. Andrew also says, 10 years ago, there were some players who would have chosen Arsenal over Spurs. Now it's probably reversed. Kuke saying, people thought that Chelsea would drop off after Hazard. Why would that happen as long as Abramovich is there? Yeah, because he's going to keep pumping money into the team. And speaking of pumping money to the team, Kuke is saying our owners haven't put money. They've put 220 million in over the last 2 summers. So you can't say that they haven't put money. I would challenge any fan to that because the owners have been putting money in. I don't know where this comes from, where people are saying we ain't got money and the owners aren't putting in money. The owners are putting in whatever the guys are looking to spend. They were willing to cash up money for Aouar, but we know what happened with him. We had a set price to pay for him and get Partey at the same time. It was never going to be Aouar. It was always going to be Aouar and Partey, and that's why we tried to down talk them with the price, because we wanted both of the players in. Will we go back for him in the new year? We'll have to see. But he's saying now Everton's put over 200 million, Villa 193, Wolves 130. All these teams have invested big. Yeah, but we've invested big as well, bro. We're in the argument as well. Andrew also says here, talking about, is it Mourinho or Pochettino, saying he had already checked out after the Champions League final. So inevitably, about the sacking, he was leaving at the end of the season. That's Pochettino. Yeah. So Joseph is just saying, Apollo, I hope so. No, Xhaka and Ceballos. Bro, if Xhaka and Ceballos turn up in the midfield tomorrow, it's game over. It's as simple as that. There's no 2 ways about it, and it's game over. Bertram, I'm going to label this one to you. This is Mikel Arteta or Emery. And I myself want to say, obviously, Aubameyang scored 22 goals in the last 2 seasons. But Lacazette is Arsenal's second highest scorer. In the same time frame, he's only scored 23 goals combined. Son for Spurs is a different animal. Son had 18 goals and 12 assists last season and 20 goals and 10 assists before that. So while Lacazette's got 23 goals in the last 2 seasons, Son has got 38 goals and 22 assists. That, guys, tells you all you need to know. The goals don't have to come just from the front 3. You need support from the midfield and everywhere. All the times when we were getting 12 goals or 10, 12 goals from Ozil, 10 goals from Ramsey, Cazorla was chipping in with 12 goals. Those days are gone now. We haven't got a midfield that can do anything. So all the pressure, and not just the midfield, but the surrounding cast around Aubameyang, they're not also doing anything. So it's impossible for one man to do it all by themselves. Bertram, for you, Unai Emery or Arteta?
It depends on how you look at it. Look, Emery went on a 22-game unbeaten streak. He should have gotten top 4 if he didn't disregard Palace, because I think if we had drawn a game and won that game, would have been in the top 4. It'd be a different discussion we're having today about Emery and what he contributed to the firm. I've said this. Arteta has a better team, no matter what anybody wants to say. First of all, as Bill
disagree with you though, right?
As Bill Parcells always say, if I'm going to make the soup, I need my ingredients to put in the soup. Don't give me the ingredients. So don't give me Pepe, give me Zaha. That's what he wanted. He wanted his players. He wanted Partey. He wanted Zaha. He never got them. So you're going to give me players that I want, who I want to manage and fit my system, and I don't get it. How can I be successful if that's the case? He inherited most of those players and actually had them playing really well for a point in time. In his second season, it all went downhill. He lost the Europa League final. At least he got us to the final, and he got us to be able to be top 4. If you look at where Arteta, we're 14th in the league, and Arteta started out with a better team. Okay, what anybody says, let's think about it this way. They say they're not better. He had Pepe, he had Aubameyang, he had Lacazette, he got Gabriel, who's now our best player, right? He's got Partey now, who's not necessarily started off well because he's been injured. We have an improved El Nene. It's a better team. And we're still 14th in the league, but Arteta won the FA Cup, and people believe that he's won the Holy Grail. And I sit back saying, when I hear Apollo,
is he still there? Your mic has gone. Your mic has gone. We can't hear you, mate. Yeah, he's just having some technical difficulties. Bertrand knows I don't agree with him at all. This midfield that we have is atrocious, and you're comparing what Unai Emery had, which is Mkhitaryan, Iwobi, Welbeck, Ramsey, those guys. I mean, right now, none of our midfield, apart from Partey, would walk into Emery's team. But
Okay,
that's
so
why me.
let's talk about that. Mkhitaryan, nobody wanted. Manu didn't want him. We didn't want him. We gave him away for free. He wasn't that good, frankly. He was good at Dortmund. He may be good at Lazio where he is. He's not that good, right? Ramsey, we're going to pay him $250 a year. We learned from the Ozil mistake. We're going to pay him that money. He won that money. You see, he can't get a game in now at Juventus. They're paying him $400,000 a year. We got to think about where people have ended up when they left us, right? Welbeck was injury prone. Can't get into a good team. Now he's at Brighton. So if you use all these players and Iwobi don't know where the goal is. Still hasn't know where the goal is. He's playing well at wing back for Everton, but he wasn't the player. So if you're going to use those players as a criteria to say they were good, I disagree with you wholly.
And that's fine. Look, football is that's fine.
A team which struggled before last year, couldn't even get into whatever. They're struggling. Yeah. They're third in La Liga this year. He went to PSG. He couldn't be a terrible manager to get the PSG job. Just like you see now with Trussell, who's struggling with PSG because of the players he have or prima donnas and hard to manage. So let's go back to the Arteta, Emery. I can't make a decision today as to who's the better manager. Emery has a resume. Arteta doesn't have a resume apart from FA Cup. He doesn't. And frankly, his resume is not. If he loses tomorrow, you'll hear the people come out because it's a derby, but it's more than a derby. His percentage, what he's winning, 44%. Emery won 57% in the leagues. If you use that as a criteria, and we love stats, Emery's a better manager. But I won't say that until Arteta has at least 2 or 3 windows. But he has a better team. It's not even disputable. It's not even close, frankly.
Yeah,
and think about it this way. Think about it this way. Our 3 highest purchases and our 4 highest players have no idea where the goal is. All these people keep talking about Aubameyang and the people around him not supporting, getting involved. What does Aubameyang do for himself? I see Kane go deep, make 40-yard pass. I see Kane score a bit of a goal. I see Kane assisting Son. What does Aubameyang do apart from score goals? I've said this a million times.
Why don't you play him in the centre?
He played in the last 2 games and he did nothing.
He's started 4 games this season in the middle and he's done nothing.
He's done nothing.
So, in my opinion, guys, as you know, I think Arteta is one of the in terms of his managerial footballing aptitude. I look at him as another Jurgen Klopp in terms of coming up as upcoming managers. Klopp won 2 titles over the best Bayern Munich team in Germany. Arteta hasn't done anything yet because obviously he's still a pup. But I'm talking about the way how he understands the game and the way how he coaches players. Again, listen to the lineup of Man City players talking about him training, him coaching. So I think he's got a really good record, and I think he's the guy that we need to take us to the next level.
I think you can see tactical improvement in Arsenal.
Yeah.
But you are toothless at the moment. So the question is, you look much better defensively, but you don't look like you're going to blow teams away. In the past, you've looked like you could blow teams away up front, but have been very vulnerable at the back.
It's going to take him time because he's facing the same problems that Emery faced. And it's just no difference with him. Even at the end of Wenger's tenure, he's still facing those problems. And it's going to take time to fix it. The problem with Arsenal fans is they want it fixed yesterday. They want it fixed tomorrow. They want it fixed next week. And so it's just not going to happen.
Anybody can be Tony Pulis or Sam Allardyce. Anybody can be Pulis or Allardyce. Wait. If you set the team up a certain way like Marina does, which is basically 6 or 7 defenders, you're looking to play in a counter-attack. Arteta did that after the restart, and that worked really well. We're now in a regular season where he needs to win games, and it's not happening.
Oh, right. So Andrew said, how long did it take for Klopp to compete and overtake Bayern Munich? It took him a couple of years. He had 2.5 years, 5 transfer windows. So when I say to Arsenal fans that Arteta needs 4 to 6 transfer windows, it's all relative. Look what Klopp did when he went to Liverpool. How much transfer windows did it take him?
Yeah, it took him 3 years to
get the team. Yeah, well, 4 years to win the Champions League, then 5 years to win the title. But he won in his 3rd year. So yeah, you're right. He still turned over trophies. So I think with Arsenal fans, it's frustrating to hear the guy ain't even been a year. Next month, Arteta would have celebrated his first year as an Arsenal manager. He's got a huge mess to deal with. It's going to take him time. The one thing I spoke to Kevin Campbell about, which we have to stamp an authority on the fan base and say is, regardless of all these guys coming in and failing, what was the one defining factor that Arteta did? He came in and brought a spine. The team hadn't had a spine since Wenger went out with Invincibles. We placed Vieira, Gilberto. We're talking about 15 years. So it's taken a rookie manager's come in by Partey and Gabriel. 15 years we've been waiting for a spine. And it's Arteta that's done that. So let's give the guy time.
Arteta didn't do that.
Saying no. Oh my God.
Apollo.
Oh my God. You just said okay. So where's our spine? Where's our spine been for the last?
Let me explain. Emery wanted Partey. It's like Levy. It's like you saying Marina gave the team a spine when Levy made the decision to buy or not.
Who wanted Partey?
Emery wanted Partey. My understanding, he wanted Partey and he wanted Zaha. That's my understanding. That's right. My understanding. So he wanted Partey and he wanted Zaha. We only got him Pepe. That's what we got him. He didn't want Pepe.
Okay, Partey's agent himself said it was Edu who identified him, and Edu came in the same. Actually, he came in at the same month that Arteta did. So no conversation with Partey.
I don't know. I even heard Chelsea wanted Partey. So it's not like we are a genius in wanting this player. Everybody knows he's a very good player. We see him against Liverpool last in Champions League when he got knocked out. We know he's an excellent player. You're a manager. You don't control the purse string. You have to go to Gazidis, or you got to go to Edu, just like Liverpool has to go to their man, or you got to go to Spurs have to go to Levy.
Yeah, that doesn't work in this situation. As you know, when Arteta applied for the job at the same month that Emery did, Arteta said, I don't want to be a head coach. I want to be part of the process. They said no.
And he could get that autonomy, Apollo, because we were in dire strait. You can only get that Apollo. He's coming from a Man City where he's got all.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't finished. Let me finish. So at that point, Raul Sally said, no, we're not doing that. We're taking the European approach. We're going to have technical director. We're going to have a head coach. We're going to have, you know how it works. Right. So Arteta decided, I don't want the job unless because he knows how it ran under Wenger. He knows what good looks like. He knows what control Pepper's got, and he didn't want anything to do with managing Arsenal unless he had that power. When Emery got sacked and Arteta came back for another interview, they said to him, "You can have whatever you want. You can do what." And in fact, I don't know what happened with the title, but after 6 months, they transferred it from head coach to manager. So they've changed his title. But the fact of the matter is, Arteta wanted to have that power that Unai Emery didn't have. You mentioned that Unai Emery wanted Zaha and he didn't get him. I guess that's one of the reasons why he probably failed. I don't know. It could be, it might be not. But this is why Arteta is in the role now. It's because he's got the power along with Edu to identify the targets that he wants, and Josh Kroenke here will make that happen. So I think we've only had one summer. We have to wait for it to grow and see where we are from there.
Do you think Edu is the right man to be in the position of power that he is at Arsenal?
I'm going to go with Bertram and say that's too early, because the one thing that Arsenal fans have to understand is Edu was a scout. So he's new in this position as a technical director. Arteta is new in this position as a manager. It's only been barely a year yet, so we just have to give it time. But judging by the players that they brought through, now let's talk about Partey, Gabriel. Edu's brought in Gabriel. He's brought in the other Gabriel, which is Martinelli. Those are some fantastic players that you can build a squad around. So looking at what they've been able to do over the last year is fantastic. Is it Tony Cox? He's the one that has said, but they've also made some bums. Cedric Soares, we know what happened with him and Mari, but I know there was injuries around that. But that was wasted money. Saliba was wasted money, and Pepe, to a point, we could have got 2 quality players with the price that we paid for Pepe. Pepe's not going to happen anymore. Seeing Arsenal do that ain't going to happen. We're going to be getting those players around the 30 million mark, just like Liverpool did with Mane, Firmino, Salah. That's what that is the ethos of Edu and Arteta right now. Bringing the guys around that 30 million mark, like Gabriel and Partey was 45 million, and watch them fly. You can build a quality team just like Liverpool. Liverpool, apart from Van Dijk,
Pochettino.
Yeah, agree. Even Pochettino. Apart from Van Dijk, all of Liverpool's players were under 40 million. So you're not going to see a Pepe thing happen again. That's gone. That was a mistake. It wasn't their decision. They got to live with it, just like the Ozil situation. But I think, in terms of the question, do I think Edu and Arteta is right for the job? So far, what they've done is acceptable. I wouldn't say it's exceptional, but I would say it's acceptable. We have to wait for this thing to grow. We don't know what their overall plan is. We haven't seen it come to fruition yet. So for me, they need to have the same time that Klopp has had, that Pep has had at Man City, and that Pochettino had at Spurs. You need to give them time. Bertrand, I'm sorry, you wanted to chime in with something?
Yeah, I do think, as you said, it's too early to judge, but there's a theme with Edu's situation, right? So he was sort of that role for the Brazilian national team. If you look at the players who have come in, between Martinelli, Gabriel, William, they all seem to have a theme to them. Apart from Partey, most of them is the same, right? And I think it's part of the Real Madrid-Barcelona strategy, which is I have connections in Brazil. Though they bring through a lot of good young talent. Maybe I can leverage my connections and get players at a good rate, because we have done an atrocious job of buying players with no sell-on value across the entire team. Apart from the British players who are coming through, most of them have no sell-on value. It's amazing, actually.
I agree. But Bertrand, my question to you is, even if we get one more Martinelli out of him,
no, but what I'm saying, that's you got to wait for the strategy to materialize. But it's a good strategy.
Yeah.
You got Rodrigo, all those players at Real Madrid, for example, who are going to be dynamic in the future, who are getting now blended in. They have great sell-on value. And if you look at the Dortmund model, which is a combination of I want to win today, but I'm going to get players who I can sell for $1 million and be self-sustainable. We have a self-sustaining model that is poorly designed and poorly executed. You can't be self-sustaining if you don't have assets which have sell-on value. So last money come from, we don't make Champions League.
So last two questions for you guys. Andy, so what is Spurs' biggest challenge overall? What would you say their biggest challenges for this?
We've already alluded to it. We have to win some silverware. They have to put some silverware in the trophy cabinet, because that's the only way you can get this sort of Spursy, nearly men tag off our backs, and that's what's been holding us back, I think. So they need that. They need to be winners. And once, I think, if they get that, then, but that is the hardest thing to do. As we all know. I also, particularly given the fact that really it's only really winning the Champions League or the Premier League or the Champions League that is really considered a worthwhile trophy. But quite frankly, I think right now Spurs would take a League Cup or an FA Cup just to say we won something, and to shut up all the sort of the negative connotations around being nearly men. But we need to win a trophy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I still do think, though, that the FA Cup is still valued. The League Cup isn't, because you know who devalued it? It was Alex Ferguson and Arsene Wenger, because those were the two managers at the turn of the century that started to play their kids in the League Cup. And I
think they could restore value straight away to the FA Cup. In my opinion, they should give a Champions League place to the winners of the FA Cup, and then instantly the competition has value again.
Yeah.
Because I have a different view of Spurs' biggest challenge, actually. I think your biggest challenge. I have a different view on the biggest challenge for you. I think you'll win a trophy at some point. I think your biggest challenge currently is, how do I pay for this? How long does this whole situation last with fans not come back to the stadium? Because they have a big debt to pay down.
No, yeah, but the big thing that we've got in our favour on that score is that Levy has not yet sold the naming rights to the stadium.
Okay.
Levy he's currently called the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Levy wanted, before the pandemic, 500 million. He wanted 20 million a year over 25 years, or 25 million a year over 20 years to finance the stadium. And because that's how much the repayments are on the loans that we've got for the stadium.
Yeah.
The fact is, the reality is that he was offered, I believe, 300 million and turned it down. So I believe that he was looking for some compromise of 400 million, and then the pandemic hit. Now, if we get this vaccine and we can get fans full, the stadium's full again, I think give it 6 months to a year, particularly if we were to re-qualify for the Champions League. Even better if we could win the Premier League. That's still a massive, massive ask. But if we could, then I think the value of that stadium naming rights will go up again. There's lots of talk about it being Amazon or Nike as being the most likely parties involved in the naming rights. If we could get 400 or 500 million for that naming rights, we could virtually pay off the stadium debt in one fell swoop. So we've got. He didn't do. I don't think he borrowed as much money without real collateral. He
borrowed from the window. Actually, he borrowed from the window.
Yes, he borrowed 175 million at virtually zero interest from the Bank of England.
I don't know why we didn't do that. I don't understand why we didn't do that. Actually,
no, Arsenal made the biggest mistake because they were building the stadium. They were told. I can't remember the guy. Well, Huss family was at Team Sky at the time. We still had Dick Law, but they were told to only do a 5-year deal on the naming rights because they needed as much money guaranteed as possible, right? They couldn't get the loan from the banks otherwise. That's why the Arsene Wenger thing was you have to be the manager and all that stuff. But they had a 10-year deal on the stadium rights, and it was awful. And they were getting paid peanuts, like 3 million a year for the stadium rights when other teams were making 10, 15 million, etc. Now, our stadium rights deal is bigger than Man United. We're getting 30 million a year for the stadium. United's getting 26 million, but obviously when United's runs out next summer, then they're going to be huge. Ours ends in 2022, along with the Adidas deal that we have. But this leads on to my point. Teams are in a better position now to build stadiums because the money that you're getting now is just astronomical. 5 years ago, before the Sky signed the 5.1 deal, the winner of the Premiership was getting 24 million. That's the winner. And then the team that came bottom got 12 million. And that's what Arsenal was building their stadium on. Now, teams are getting a flat 94 million. Even the teams that finish bottom, and top teams can make up to 130 million a season. And that's on the current deal. The new deal for Sky runs out next summer. So that 5.1 million deal is going to be, because there's going to be more people at the table, as you said, Amazon,
but remember the pandemic. The pandemic is going to affect the finances a bit.
It is going to affect it, but it's still going to be a new deal. And very rarely in sports do we see a deal not escalate. Yeah. It always improves. So if you're going any bigger than what we've got now, it's still a lot. It's still a lot of money. If you're making up to 130 million a year on TV rights, that's going to be 150 million a year minimum. Then you've got your kit deal, your stadium rights deal. I mean, Arsenal were making what 30 million a year on their deals before the new Emirates deal and Adidas. Now they're making 140 million a year just on commercial. So, and that's the current deals now. In 2022, that is going to double. So, in terms of you and your stadium, that I wouldn't worry about the stadium if I was you, Andy. That is going to be well.
Andy raised a good point.
I trust Levy on that score.
Yeah, but Andy raised a good point, which is we talked about the trajectory of the teams, right?
Yeah.
So Tottenham actually makes more money now revenue-wise than Arsenal does without naming rights to their stadium, without valuing the assets that they have they could sell on. The comparative in terms of direction of travel is material between us. Tottenham is probably thinking more about Man U now versus thinking about Arsenal. We are poorly managed. I could do a better job in the finance department than the person doing it. And I'm not even joking about that because it's basic finance stuff. Fundamental, which is why would I buy an asset that's a depreciable asset that, first of all, is not producing on the field and is not going to provide me a set-on value. We gave away Mkhitaryan, we gave away Sanchez, we gave away Ozil, we may give away Gwen. We just give away what we buy. You spend $100 million, you give it away for zero. How can you be on upward trajectory? How can you do well financially? It makes no sense. As Andy mentioned, you can get 100, 200 million for for Kane. You can get 100 million for Son. You can get 60 million for Bergwijn. You can get 40 million for Sissoko. Same thing for Højbjerg. It's
Dele Alli.
you think about it too. Dele Alli, who was an England international, can't even get into the squad.
Yeah, we had one of our most, a lot of people said Martinelli. When Klopp found out about Martinelli, he was like, okay, guys, our scouting team missed that one. When they brought in Guendouzi, he said the same thing as like, our scouting team missed those ones. Those are the two real young players. We know that Saka's worth 90 million because he was valued 2 weeks ago. But Guendouzi was our asset because he had a fallout with Arteta. His market value was said to be between 40 to 50 million in the summer. But because of COVID, we couldn't even get 30 million for him. We couldn't get nothing. And that was a player to us who was worth something who fell out with management. It's just the state of the sport at the moment, as you said, Andy. It's just in a bad position right now to think that we couldn't even get anything of worth for Guendouzi, that we had to loan him off. The same with Torreira. Torreira, we were trying to bag him for 25 million. We ended up letting him go on a loan.
I remember that 4-2 game that you beat us couple of years ago at the Emirates.
Torreira was a beast, man.
Torreira was an absolute beast in that game.
I told Bertram last week.
Just within months, he was like, his value to you just plummeted. I don't know what.
Yeah,
it's because he got injured a couple of times, and then they played him. They took him out of that defensive midfield position, and they played him up the top in the diamond to win the ball back, and it failed. That was Emery's fault. Here's
what I saw with Torreira. So very good. He's like a lesser Allen for Everton. The problem is when we play the big teams, he disappeared. Not because he's not there, because athletically he wasn't there. And on the ball, you have to create your own space against the Man City, Liverpool, and he just wasn't there. And people say against the Spurs game, he was exceptional, and I think he's But when he played the real big teams with athletic players in the midfield, he got dominated. From what I saw something different. He dominated when we played Liverpool at the Emirates. He completely dominated the midfield, and he was man of the match in that game. When we bought him. And this is important to note because everybody had heard the news with this is the guy we're buying. Is Uruguayan international. So we then watched that game, Uruguay versus Portugal in the World Cup. He put Cristiano Ronaldo on lockdown. He locked him up. And everyone was like, okay, then, all right. And that's when we knew we had a good player. But it's difficult to say because, again, that was a Raul Sanelli, but not Raul Sanelli. That was a Sev Mislintat buy. So when other people, it's like this in any sports. When one person buys a player and the new manager, the new staff comes in and that's not their choice, you don't get no love. And we've seen that with various. You don't get no love if they don't respect your game.
They don't get no kiss. They don't
respect your game. So Klopp went to Liverpool. He kept Anderson, everybody knocked all the time. He kept Firmino. He got rid of some players who didn't think was good enough, and he bought in his own players. Like it's like every manager, right? Internet business, frankly. The people around you think are good, you're going to keep. Those are not. You don't have respect for. You're going to get rid of them. But Torreira is another player. We can't even sell. Andy, we can't sell the players we buy. No, this is
nobody can sell right
nobody
now.
Nobody want to buy them. At least we have to give Mkhitaryan, who's doing well in Italy. We gave him away for free because another thing is this.
And he's outperforming all of our.
We overpaid him. Socrates, we can't even give away because he makes too much money. And the player's like, I'm not moving. When we take 45 mil versus 90 mil I'm getting paid, I'm not moving. Kolasinac makes 120.
That's the one thing with Levy is he won't pay the huge wages. The only ones he has are to those that have deserved it, like Kane. And they're now talking about trying to lock Son down as well on a big contract, but they have proven their worth to the club. Levy doesn't go out and give. We've lost players because of it. That's definitely true in the transfer market, but he won't bankrupt the club to bring a player to the club.
And that's why your wage structure is really good, and Arsenal's wage structure is spiraling out of control. It won't be like that next summer because next summer we'd have more than sort of really dealt with the issue. 282 million is our wage structure at the moment. Next summer we're alleviating about 37 million of that with all of the contracts that have run out. So it gives Arteta a chance to try and build. With the players and the wages that he would do it. But unfortunately, Arsenal are desperate for players, so they're going to have to pay bigger wages than Tottenham. It's just the way how it is at the moment. Bertrand, before you say something, I need to go on to our question, which is the last of this podcast, which is, what is Arsenal's biggest challenge? I've already said what our challenge is, and I'll say it again, it's shared goals. Aubameyang cannot do it by himself. He needs support from the midfield in terms of goals, and he needs support from the supporting cast in his wingers.
But Aubameyang's not doing it at the moment either. He has done the last 2 seasons, but he's not doing it at the moment at all.
I agree. But then
our biggest challenge, there are many challenges. It's not one challenge.
So, but that's what's good about Spurs is Harry Kane doesn't have to score in order for them to win. They've got goals in. I mean, Song is just a beast. But a Lacazette is no Song. If he was, then we wouldn't be in this position.
No, our biggest challenge is that our supposedly high-priced players are not producing. Pep, and people may say Pepe score goals. He's not scoring goals in the Premier League. He's not even getting starts, Frank, to score goals.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we can't say he's not scoring if he's not playing.
Wait. Let me get to that. William, Pepe, Aubameyang, Xhaka. I mean, all these players, Lacazette, with supposed names, international players, Lacazette really isn't. He can't get into the France team. But they're not producing. So what happens, and they have to be starters, most of them, including Aubameyang. I don't rate Aubameyang like people rate Aubameyang. Rate him as a goal scorer. I don't rate him as an overall footballer. I just don't. I've said that from day one. Because I look at Kane, for example. I look at Aguero, for example. I even look at Watkins, for example. And they're better overall player than Aubameyang is. Great goal scorer, right foot, left foot, overhead, hold up play, beating play, all the other attributes a forward should have, he doesn't have. So let's go with the key criteria. We need quality players. We need a right back. We need another midfielder or two. We need 2 more midfielders, and we need a whole different forward line than we have today because they're not producing. And I'm not expecting them to produce either.
So the question is where I answered it. I said that we need more shared goals. What's your answer to the question of what is Arsenal's biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge, we got to get quality players. Look, Apollo, if one says we need more shared goals, they're not coming. They haven't been coming for the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's my
last year.
Yeah, that's my answer. What's your answer to what is Arsenal's biggest challenge?
Our biggest, I'm going to say it again. We need quality players in key positions. You can't. Not help us. If I'm going to attack a midfielder and I'll have forwards can score goals, it's not going to fix the problem.
Yeah, I hear that, but this is related to this season. We can't just go out and get quality players.
We need to score goals. Our forwards need to score goals. Stop saying about the midfielders as shared goals. Liverpool midfielders don't score a lot of goals.
No, it's not. It's unproven. Yeah, what you're saying, it doesn't equate to what I've said to you. We've had 12 goals from Cazorla, 12 goals in the midfield, from those type of attacking type players is key. We've had goals from Mkhitaryan in the midfield. We've had goals from, I'm losing names now. Yeah, so from Ramsey. But last season, you had 2 goals from Ceballos. And 2 goals. You had what?
He didn't play all the time, though, did he?
Yeah.
I actually quite like Ceballos as a player.
Yeah, he got a good stretch from Arteta, and he was playing earlier on under Unai Emery. But even when he wasn't playing, Guendouzi's young and he was learning his trade. One of our best midfielders, but scoring wasn't something that he wasn't doing. He was more of a box-to-box facilitator. Xhaka again, 2 goals from Xhaka. So you go from these guys who are scoring 10, 11, 12 goals in the midfield, and then you got a midfield that isn't going to score.
So that's a problem. Here's the difference, though. It's like saying Sissoko and Højbjerg should score goals.
They can't.
Wait. But here's the thing. On the restart, we played 3 at the back, 2 wings, and 2 midfielders who are playing deep and not going to score goals. Just like you see with City, with Rodrigo and Gundogan, they're not going to score goals, right? We should have 10. We should have Ozil in that position. He wasn't really scoring goals even the first half of the season.
Ozil's averaged about 11 goals a season with Arsenal.
Yeah, and when Ramsey was scoring goals, we were leaking goals because he was always out of position. Yeah. He would run forward, create gaps. So when he scores, about 50, he's great. But then we give up 2 goals on the other side. Yeah. You can't have it both ways, right? Now, I would say this is if we play 4 at the back, then you can get in a number 10, and most teams are not using 10 anymore anyway. We can get a number 10 who probably can score goals and provide assists. There are not many of them around. I can tell you that. You don't have defenders in the world. There are not a ton of them.
Yeah, one thing I could say to you, though, is you look how much goals are going to come from Chelsea's midfield this season, and then we'll have another conversation.
But
yeah,
Chelsea just spent £200 million. I would
exactly.
Just to say, I think Arsenal, one of Arsenal's biggest things is a problem that I think Spurs had for a long time, and why we haven't won any trophies, was needing leaders down the spine. See, I think now he's addressed that issue with Højbjerg, particularly. So now we've got Lloris at the back, World Cup winning goalkeeper, captain. We've got Kane up front. We've now got Højbjerg in the middle. We've got Alderweireld at the back. We've now got a strong spine in the team. And I think you've made a great acquisition with Gabriel. I think he's a top class player. But I don't.
We've got Thomas Partey. That's our spine. If he's great.
But I'm not
we're
sure
having a different conversation.
I don't think you've got experienced leaders in that team. And that means when you do come up to the real crunch games, when you really need to win, I think you're still lacking in that department.
That's a good point. Yeah, leadership is a big problem.
Andy, we have too many players with too many deficiencies. You can't have a team where, you know what, Abba is a great goal scorer, but doesn't do anything well. Like I said, can't run, always get tired after 60 minutes. Pepe loses the ball too much, and William is lost. You can't have that in supposed best players, most high-priced players, both in terms of acquisition price and also their salaries. It just doesn't work for most teams.
And again, welcome to Arteta picking up the same problems that Emery had to deal with. He's almost like he's put out Arteta's putting out fires while at the same time trying to build a team in transition. And as Bertram just said, a lot of the players there have got a lot of deficiencies, and that's why they underperformed. And Emery got sacked, Wenger got sacked. We're seeing the same players doing the same things every week. And it's unfortunate that Thomas Partey's only played 2 games. When he's in the team, we saw against Man United, which was really joy to see, how dominant he was and how it affects and alleviates the pressure from other departments on the field. It allows players to go and play their game when somebody is doing what they're supposed to be doing in the middle and picking up the slack and win ball. I tell you what, I couldn't believe the amount of duels won and the amount of tackles we won. Just ball winning, something that Ceballos and Xhaka doesn't do. The ball winning when El Nene and Partey are on the field in tandem is exceptional. But we've only seen it for 1 game. So when he comes back, it's going to be a completely different. It's going to be a completely different experience for the midfield.
Yeah, and you mentioned the spine, and I always agree that the spine right up the middle, your goalkeeper, your center half, 1 or 2, your center midfielder, and your center forward need to be quality and need to be leaders. Because the shortest distance between 2 points is right at the middle. I would say this though: you need a player on the forward line who has disdain for defenders and create something out of nothing. Salah and Mane for Liverpool. Grealish for Villa, right? You look at Man U now, and I think Cavani is going to do that for them, frankly. If you look how he moves and play. We don't have that in our team. And we have 2 players making $250 and $220, £470,000 a week, and they're doing nothing. And that's my frustration, Andy, which is you have Kane and Son on your team. Those are your reliable players. Those are creative, can do myriad of different things and put the ball in the net and also create assists. We don't have that. Our best player,
and they also work extremely hard as well.
They work really hard, right? They bought into Marino's. In fact, they've always done it before Marino, but even more so on the Marino because you have no choice in Marino. Saka is our best offensive player, and he can't score goals. So as you can see, we have a problem as a team. And Arteta, I don't blame Arteta. I believe that Arteta will do well if he gets the time. My concern is we are all going to get frustrated at some point. If you're 14. We could lose today, and I watched Burnley today. It's not going to be an easy game against Burnley. They're fighting their muscle. They're fighting their feet. So we lose today. We play Burnley. We draw. We lose. You can hear the noise coming out. It's going to be painful to be an Arsenal fan.
Not for me. Not for me, it is, mate. Not for me.
And fans coming back to the stands.
Yeah, it's not going to be painful for me. I tell you what, Andy, I've said long before, for many years, to Arsenal fans. As you know, I head up 101 forums, and every year I tell them the same thing. I said, there's a level of snobbery and privilege when it comes to Arsenal, being an Arsenal fans, because your expectations are way above what the team is capable of doing. As Bertrand has alluded to, the team is not capable right now. We are in a transition. It's going to take time, work in progress. That's
Spurs
not
fans have been like that for donkey's years.
But Arsenal fans are not
for
like that.
decades.
Arsenal fans think that we're going to win the title this season. That's their mindset, and it's completely bonkers. When I listen to Arsenal fans talk, they talk about failure. If they get beaten a couple of games, they say, "Oh, that's failure." You don't know what failure looks like. I know what failure looks like. I've supported teams that have not won championships for decades. I've supported teams that have never won a championship. Never, ever. So when you speak to these Arsenal fans and they say, they're riding on the Invincibles and they're riding on our history and, we're the most winningest team in FA Cup history and all these different things, their expectations is off the charts. The team is never going to achieve that in a transitional state. We're in transition right now, and it's going to take years. For these guys, they think it's going to take weeks. And I tell you what, Andy, last week we had our longest podcast. I couldn't believe it. Thankfully, Bertram brought sense to the podcast. And he was, like myself, I thought we were going to lose. Yeah, we ended up drawing. Not the Wolves, the Leeds game. I thought we were going to lose. We drawed. So I was like, I'm happy with the result. All the Arsenal fans was like, we lost. I can't believe it. We didn't win. We didn't win against Wolves. We lost. 4 hours our stream went for. 4 hours. I've never done a stream sitting in this chair for 4 hours. And I tell you what, we had 3,500 people on the stream, and it was like Meltdown City. And but there were some spots where we saw and identified certain things that could work and improve in the future. And it was good to hear Bertram say, well, look, I saw some things that I think we can build on in this game, but you won't get the average Arsenal fan that says that. And we're going to need that thought process.
I think they're going to turn up tomorrow, Andy.
You are?
They're going to turn up tomorrow. Now, will they win? I don't know.
You're obviously going to say that because if you say that and then you get a result, then you can come and crow
I'm not saying
about
they're going to win. No, I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm saying I think the players, after the last game against Wolves, I think there's a lot of soul searching being done by the team. And I think Arteta's going to make some tough decisions. I just think players are going to realize, look, if you bench me, and we all play football, right? It's hard being on the bench. If you love playing football, it's hard being on the bench. When you have competition, it brings more out of you.
I always hated being on the bench.
Exactly. So if you're not playing well and you're a high-priced player, like I would bench Aubameyang in some games in the Premier League because I don't think he's giving his all. I think he's trying.
I said that for weeks.
Pressure because he knows he's the first name on the team sheet.
Yeah, I would have benched them against Wolves, that's for sure. I would have benched them. So, guys, look, we've got the word prediction up, so we're going to get the prediction and thoughts. You guys know I think it's going to be 1-1. The problem with, we talked about this, I actually sent a message to Troops today because we were talking about, isn't it funny, the team who scores first has a 56% chance of not winning the game. It's weird. This is the only fixture and derby in the Premier League where the team who scores the first goal very rarely goes on to win the actual match. So but I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a 1-0. I think Arsenal are going to really
score first tomorrow. Then, do you?
Because I think it's a draw. It really doesn't matter who scores first. But I think Arsenal are going to. I think they're going to turn up. I think they're going to work. This is the London derby.
I think they'll turn up as well.
So guys in the chat, can you give me your predictions? What do you think that the score's going to be tomorrow? Go on, Andy.
Well, the weird thing was last week with Chelsea, I thought it was going to be a draw, and then at the last minute, my heart took over and said with Spurs would win, and then it was a draw. So last week, I thought we were going to hammer you this week, and then as the game's getting closer, I'm like getting a bit more nervous because I thought you played quite well against Rapid Vienna, which obviously a different quality of opposition, and we were shocking in Lask on Thursday night. But I'm going to go Spurs 3, Arsenal 1 is going to be my prediction.
3-1. Okay. Sentiment here has gone for 0-0. I think there's going to be goals in it. Although, look, this all depends on what Mourinho does and how he comes out to play.
Yeah,
if you
I
look
think
what,
it does.
Yeah,
It
look what
depends on
happened
who's
against.
available. Is Partey available for you? That makes a difference to you. Is Alderweireld and Lloris available for us? That will make a difference to us, Kane. So, I think these are big questions. But if we're at full strength, then I believe we will win the game. But I do expect you to give us a very, very tough game tomorrow, because the NLD is always a one-off. Even when you were much better than us, we generally turned up for the North London derby.
Indeed.
So I expect you will do the same to us tomorrow.
Indeed. Cool K says Spurs will win 3-0. Cool K, you bastard. Scricket Ball says Arsenal is going to win 3-2. Alex, well done to Alex, guys. If you're not subscribed to his channel, please subscribe to Cannon for the TV. Excellent channel. Alex on his way to 10,000 subscribers if he's not there already. I'm about to hit 5,000 subscribers here. So it just goes to show the channels are really, really kicking up, guys. And that's because of you guys. You guys are really pushing the content for us to work harder and give you a better experience on YouTube. So big shout out to my man Alex there. Alex is saying he's going for 3-1 Tottenham as well. Fabrice is going 3-2 to Arsenal. 18 is saying Arsenal will shock Spurs 4-1.
Too early to be drinking.
Lund Bergkamp hasn't put a score up. Let me just see if Lund Bergkamp has put us a prediction up yet. I don't think he has. No, he hasn't. Bertram, what's your prediction for tomorrow?
So it all depends on what team he plays and how he positions them. If he plays three at the back, David Luiz and Gabriel in the middle, because I think Luiz can get over the top with balls because we can't go to the middle, and Partey plays with Elneny, it'll be 2-2. I don't think we'll score 3 in Spurs because Mourinho is not an idiot. He's going to play with his 2 center midfielders blocking everything in the middle. You got to go from wide, which then makes it difficult. I think it'll be 2-2. I think we'll turn up tomorrow, and I think our high-priced players will put in a shift. Now, will they be effective? We hope so, but they'll put in a shift.
Yeah, I think putting in a shift is half the problem. You remember, Andy, remember when we used to play semi-pro, actually, when I was in the Diodora League, and it's then that we taught, look, regardless of the tactics, you get your tactics, you get the formation, you get all these different things. Then at the end of it, the manager says, look, mate, it doesn't matter what I tell you to do. What matters is how much you're willing to give me. And 75% of our result today is going to be based on your commitment to what you do on the field, rather than the tactics I'm giving you to. You know, I could tell you what to do, but it's your commitment, it's your heart, it's your desire that is going to get the result. Exactly.
Well, we have asked Amazon to go find William because he sent his sister. He sent his. We know Amazon delivers. He sent.
Don't listen. No, he played well last week. Come on, man. He played well last week.
No. He ain't got no. He played okay last week.
Yeah.
Look, William I know from Chelsea is a different William. William who goes by people, glides by people, never loses the ball, tracks back, is all over the field. I don't see that William at Arsenal since he's been with us.
But he's got quite a good record against Spurs, though, William.
I was just about to say that. I'm looking for a comment that someone put on about half an hour ago. Here it is. Here it is. I found it. Kuke said Chelsea fans keep repeating 2 things about Willian. The first one is that he was going to have 5 good games per season, and that's it. Strange, because he had 11 goals and 9 assists last season. So surely that's more than 5 good games. However, he says the second is that he's always turned up against Spurs.
Yeah.
So, Bertram, your boy's gonna turn up against Spurs tomorrow.
You remember he was supposed to sign for us, and Chelsea stole him from us at the last minute.
Yeah, the medical. I remember it's a medical. Everyone was texting me saying he hasn't turned up yet. He hasn't turned up. Oh man! I said to Brian,
the story is funny how he is delaying tactics, so Chelsea will alive.
Yeah, I said to one of the agency guys at SEM Group, who Jack Wilshere is signed by, and Brian was saying to me, "We're here waiting for him. He hadn't turned up yet, mate. His medical was half an hour ago." I said, "If he ain't turned up, he ain't coming."
But wasn't Marino the one who got it?
They actually thought he was going to turn. Yeah. Oh my God. That was shocking. Mind you, you know, I've got some really shocking Arsenal stories, but that's for another video. So that's where it is, guys. That's where we are. We are going to be back here tomorrow with live commentary stream tomorrow. Andy, if you want to join us for the stream, you can. It's up to you. It's going to be tough, though, because we're going to have about 5 Arsenal fans in there.
5,000 Arsenal fans, yeah.
But you can gloat, Andy. You can gloat.
He certainly can.
Let's see who scores the first goal first, shall we?
But guys, yeah, we're going to be here live streaming the game tomorrow. So we'll see you all then. Thank you for joining us for the preview. Appreciate that very much. And Andy, thanks for joining us as well for the preview. Appreciate and you too as well, Bertram. Very early for you at the moment. I think it's just after 12:30.
Yeah, I'm starting to watch the West Ham game against Man U.
Right. Well,
hopefully they win.
I'm going to go off and watch the Mandalorian Boba Fett's turning up in this.
We want a West Ham United draw and a Leeds win at Chelsea. That'll do me.
Oh, that's going to be nice. That's going to be nice.
It's possible.
Oh my God.
See you later.
All right. See you later, guys. Thanks a lot, guys. To everybody in chat room. See you guys later. Peace.